Hello everybody and thank you for joining me. This is Sierra from Sierra 2 Designs and today I have a bit of a different card for you. So let's jump right in. So I am going to be using the Scrapbook.com Magic Mat here. I'm not really going to comment on it in this video. I only just got it. This was the first time I'd used it and I don't really have an opinion yet because it was the first time I'd ever used it. So and I'm still kind of working on my sandwich that's right for my machine. So I will talk about it at a later date, but for now I'm not going to really talk about it yet. We are going to do a really cool mirroring technique though. So you see that bunny I used from my stamp set. It's from Simon Says Stamp Showers and Flowers. I have the stamps and dies. And you can see that I cut the die twice for a template. So I'm going to stamp my bunny onto a waffle flower media mat, which I've trimmed down and I've put into my Misti. These mats hold the ink and they just sit on top. So you can see here, and I'm using a Copic friendly ink, and I'm just going to stamp it down. I do it, I think, twice or three times onto the media mat through the template, and then I stick down my die cut, press it into the ink that's sitting on top of the waffle flower media mat, and kind of run my fingers along it to get all the ink to transfer. I realized that I missed the ear somehow, so I'm actually going to lay it back in the template there and just rub my fingers along it again, and you're going to see a perfect mirror image of this super cute rabbit from the stamp set. Now this should work with anything, any ink, anything like that. The only thing, of course, is that if it's an ink that's going to stain the mat, you're going to have to scrub it out, but otherwise it shouldn't create any issues. And then for my second bunny, the one that's going to be how it's actually supposed to be facing, is I just stuck it back in that little template. I'm just going to stamp it down with the exact same ink, and then I'm going to have two rabbits that face each other, which they're mirrored. So I can kind of color them differently and have these super cute rabbits looking at each other. So this is kind of an Easter themed anniversary card. If you guys have been following me for a little bit, you know that I had a custom order for some anniversary cards, so I've been pushing myself really hard to make different styles of anniversary cards. I have a tendency towards florals, so this was a really different challenge for me, and I really kind of wanted to do something different. But I don't really own any Easter stamps. I don't know how that's possible with the stash that I have, but I just don't. And I have this one kind of spring-esque set, so I just brought in that the bunny, and I'm trying my best to make this a super cute card. So I have the Tumbling Hearts stencil from Simon Says Stamp here, and I'm blending in Spun Sugar and Tumbled Glass. Tumbled Glass, I just re-inked it, and I tapped it off on my glass mat a few times. So you see, like, it's blue on the glass mat, but when I blended in, I think that my blending brush was a little bit dirty. So it actually looks green when I lift the stencil. You'll see her here in a minute, and I don't know how that happened. I think it's just that I didn't clean my blending brush very well. I don't have very many of these. Generally, my ink blending tool of preference is a domed foam ink tool. I haven't tried Rangers yet. That's on my list as soon as they come in, but I have Scrapbook.coms. But I wanted a really light background, just something for some added texture behind these rabbits. So you can see here it looks way more green than it does blue. This doesn't bother me. I don't mind at all. So I left it. You could absolutely stick that stencil back down and do it again. I had some Pixie Spray on the back, so you could line it up and do it again if you wanted to. Completely up to you. I didn't really mind, so I just left it. And I did use my stitched rectangle dies. I used the largest one and the second largest one to create these panels. I just wanted a little bit of extra added texture to this card because it's kind of a simple card. I don't mean as in like there's no steps to it, but it's, you know, usually I have bright colors and I have all sorts of things going on, and I was trying really hard to go out of my usual comfort zone of super bright colors and super, you know, that kind of thing, and do something subtle and different. You'll have to tell me if I hit the mark with this. I'm a little on the fence about it still, but I really wanted to do something different. So I brought in my Nuvo Deluxe glue and I adhered down my blended panel on top of my black mat. And I had a little trouble with my glue. I think that it's getting a bit old, so I had a bit of a struggle with it, but it did work in the end. And I am going to Copic color each of my bunnies. Mostly I'm just adding shadowing and shading because I wanted them to be white. So it's super simple Copic coloring. I did end up bringing in 3 just because I chose to be a little bit extra. And you're going to see right here that it blobbed out my second color. So I'm going to use RV00 for the ears and the nose of my girl bunny. I also added some to the cheeks. And I'm also using C0, C1, and C3 on her. And you could see that I go lightest to darkest and then back to lightest. So my mid-tone color kind of globbed out on her ears, so then I just decided to make her ears look like they had little like spots of color on them. So it's not a perfectly white rabbit, however I just chose to add a little bit extra to the ears, just to add her a little more variation in her, since the pen dripped out. So, and that does happen if they're a little bit too full, it can drip out ink. You just pull the other cap off on the other side and it seems to kind of, for lack of a better term, pressurize the ink inside, and then that isn't really an issue. So that's what I did, and then I just chose to color her ear gray. And then for the boy bunny, I used N0, N2, and N3. So I have cool grays and neutral grays, just because I was trying for a different thing, and I always kind of like to work on my shading of white images. So that's kind of what I went with here. Super simple coloring. You could absolutely only bring in one color. You could leave them white and just add like some color on their nose or something. And I did bring in C9 for my boy bunny's nose there. And so I am going to stamp out a sentiment, and I wanted to do Happy Anniversary, just because, you know, it's bunnies and I need an anniversary card. However, I do not have a sentiment that says that. I have Happy Anniversary, and I had another sentiment from a different set that said something hoppy something. I'm sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head what it said. It's in this stamp set, the Showers and Flowers stamp that the rabbits are from. And so I kind of just doctored my stamps to make them work. I'm really big in believing in using what you have in your stash, so that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. It's just, I mean, you could cut them apart if that's more your style. It breaks my heart to cut things apart, so I just don't do it, but you absolutely could if you're comfortable with that. I chose not to. And then I kind of just doctored my stamp and stamped it down in some VersaFine Onyx black ink. And I am going to adhere my little rabbits down with some 3D foam squares. I love these things. There's like just a smidge of dimension, so they pop them up and add a little more like interest to your card, but they're not so thick that they stand out really far from your card. So this is kind of like my new found love in my crafting world. I mean, they're new to me. They're not new in general, and they're not even new to me at this point. I use them on almost every card, but I just love how they add a little bit of dimension. And you saw me bring in my mini snips because they stuck out a little bit around the ears and just trimmed that off. They are super easy to kind of alter that way as well. And I just adhered them down on the bottom so that they would be grounded in my card design. And then I'm going to adhere these super cute little hearts that I have floating above them. So these are, I believe, Buttons Galore and More Sweetheart Sprinkles. They came in, I think, last year's February's Simon Says Stamp Kit. So of course they're in my stash. I've never used them. This seemed like a perfect opportunity. And I did also bring in a little bit of white gel pen just to add a little bit of highlighting. You don't really see it much, honestly, just because of course the rabbits are white mostly, so you don't see too much of it, but I just thought it was super cute on the nose, and I think I put some on the ears. And then I brought in my Spectrum Noir glitter pen and added a little bit to these super cute hearts excuse me, and inside of their ears, because again, it entertained me and looked super cute. I don't know, I kind of end up going back to some of the same techniques when I'm trying something new, just because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And then I'm just going to use that Nuvo Deluxe glue, and I'm going to stick this down on an A2 sized side folding card base. Do you guys have a preference as to like side fold, top fold? I'd love to know. I pretty much only ever do side fold for whatever reason. I don't know why, but that's just where I go. And I'm going to hold it up so you can check it out. I would love to know what you guys think of this card. I'm still a little on the fence, but this is the card I have for you guys this week. Happy Easter if you celebrate Easter. If you don't, I hope you had an amazing weekend, and I will see you guys again soon. Consider subscribing, leave me a like, leave me a comment, and I will see you again soon. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.